Hello. Well, this is the introduction to your reading, um, and the clearing work that you had done with me. What I'd like to do in this introduction is cut out some of the items that I would normally be giving to you, the client, during the reading. And that is how the reading works, how I work, and also give you the definitions of some of the major terms that I'm going to be using during the course of your reading, so that when you go over your videos, you'll have just clear, concise information that is just the bare bones of each issue that we're going to go over, without all the clutter of the different definitions. So when you go over them again, you'll already know all of the definitions, so you don't have to hear them again. So basically, this is soul realignment. However, I've been doing this for 10 years. So I started with the basic framework of soul realignment. But over the course of the 10 years, my Akashic Records guides have, we've grown together, and we've incorporated a lot of different elements and a lot of different inquiries into the reading. So I can give the client a more complete and accurate assessment and a more accurate clearing of the blocks and restrictions on their Akashic record. So basically what I'm starting out with is this sheet. This is the blank sheet. I ask for your name at present, your name at birth, where you were born and when. That's all I need to find the record in the Akashic records. And then I go through a list of protocol questions. I want to know if I've located the soul, if the soul is soul shifting, or if they're monosouled, if there are any other blocks to truth. And then I go through all of this preliminary information. And then I get to the core of the reading. Now, the core of the reading that I'll be giving to you consists of your soul profile, which are your archangelic realms of training, and your soul group of origination. Your archangelic realms of training are one of the 7 archangels that corresponds to the 7 main chakras, and working with whatever energies that you as a soul have chosen to work with in this lifetime. I tell you that, and I tell you your soul group of origination. So you'll identify very strongly with the characteristics of your soul group and your archangelic realm of training. Also, I go through some other things, your soul vibration rate, which shows where you are on your ascension path. I also look for some other things like your spiritual orders. Life and our spiritual work does not end when we leave the physical body. It does continue. And there are some spiritual orders that souls participate in, like the Brotherhood and Sisterhood of Light, the Melchizedek priesthood. And a human will feel the characteristics of their spiritual orders in their life. So that's another part of the soul profile. Also, we talk about your God spark connection. Your God spark connection is like an umbilical cord of light that goes from your thymus area and connects to source. Now, sometimes when I'm doing the evaluation of the soul profile, I might find that the primary God spark is damaged. And when the primary God spark is damaged, that means that the person has their connection to source has been broken. Which means that they, in whatever fashion, and it manifests and plays out for every person differently, that they may not be able to feel their connection to source. But that's varies with individual to individual, and that's all part of the reading. And a lot of people will be able to relate to the moment that their God spark was disconnected, was broken. Also finding out if the client has a secondary God spark. Secondary God spark is not an automatic thing. Like the primary God spark, everyone has a primary God spark except for negative souls. All beings of light do have a primary God spark. Well, I look to see if there's a secondary God spark, which is actually a gift from Source, which is given to an individual to help amplify either their ability to communicate or their ability to receive intuitive information, depending on the person. Also, I look for your white lights. White lights are little softball-sized sentient beings who are gifted to someone by spirit as a result of a strong prayer practice. And these little white lights can be used to put prayers into, and they will send the prayer and affect the prayer to the appropriate destination. It's always nice to send white lights to yourself for healing. I also look to see how many spirit guides there are on your core team. Depending on the person, sometimes there are negative guides that have been hired at some point during the life. Everyone is born with birth to death guides. Some people have one birth to death guide. Your birth to death guide, is the one that sits down with you before you incarnate and you hatch out a plan for your life. Karmic lessons that you need to resolve from previous lifetimes. And also the birth to death guide help you write the script. I have 2 birth to death guides. Some people also do have 2. Some people have 1. It just all depends on what the soul has chosen. However, sometimes during the course of a lifetime, a soul will hire a negative guide. That's a being that is not aligned with the light. Could be draconian. Very often draconians will come to a soul wearing a shell device. A shell device is something, it's a personality body of a soul. When we leave these bodies and we leave the 3rd dimensional earth plane, our personality body sloughs off like a snakeskin, and that's called a shell. A negative soul can grab the shell, put it on, and masquerade as a being of light. And this is how a negative guide will get themselves hired onto the guide team of a being of light. Negative souls do not have spirit guides because they are not on a path of soul evolution. They are actually going against the stream of soul evolution. So all of these things that I'm talking about do not apply to negative souls, and negative souls would never even come to me for this kind of work because they're not here to evolve. So that's the soul profile, and that is what I give at the end. The first part of the reading will consist of the blocks and restrictions. Now, what I mean by blocks and restrictions are just that, blocks and restrictions. Things, elements that have come on to the soul record that prevent that soul from living their highest path and purpose in this lifetime. Now, basically, what I'm looking for, see, when I do these readings, I'm not looking at the entire Akashic record. That is not my purpose. That is not what I'm here for. I don't do like little whimsical kind of explorations of a soul record. I really basically am an exorcist. Now, one of my archangelic realms of training now is with Archangel Michael. I call him Michael. That's the proper way to say his name. And Michael wields the sword of truth. There's no black and white. It's just a straightforward, cutting truth. So basically, my purpose in doing these soul realignment readings, which has evolved way past the course material as I was taught 10 years ago. I also incorporate all of my 24 years as a healer in the wise woman tradition into these readings. I'm looking up what the wise woman tradition means, and the different principles of the wise woman tradition will help you to understand where I'm oriented as far as this concerns. I am not a hero. I am not trying to save anyone. I am simply here to cut away the negative elements and the darkness that can free each individual soul to go off on their journey and live their highest and best life. So, with that said, the golden web is one of the first things that I'm looking at. And what the golden web is it looks just like that. It looks like an energy net. If you could see it, it looks like a golden energy net surrounding the energy field of the incarnated soul. And what the golden web really is it's a temporary storage device. Like if you think about a computer, there's the temporary files. And then sometimes those temporary files on a computer will get uploaded to the hard drive. Well, that's what the golden web is. It is storing and collecting all of the experiences, all of the memories that a soul experiences while incarnate. And then whatever is left over on that golden web will get transferred to the hard drive, which is the Akashic record. And that is what sticks. Now, when I'm looking at the golden web, what I'm looking for are tears in the golden web. There are 144,000 intersecting connecting points in the golden web. Each one of these intersections represents a choice that can be made. Since the golden web envelops the entire energy field of the being, sections of this golden web correspond to the 7 main chakras. Now, there's more than 7 chakras since consciousness on Earth began to ascend, since humanity made the collective decision to take the ascension journey, because this is something that is unprecedented. This has never been done before in any other world. The ascension of consciousness housed in a physical format like this. Usually when consciousness starts to ascend, it's the beings of that world are housed in more of a light body. So this is an unprecedented event. That's why it's so interesting what's happening here on Earth right now. So the golden web can have tears, can be torn. And usually what will tear the golden web are negative entity attachments. And we're going to get to that in a minute. But when when a point on the golden web is torn at a particular chakra, what it does is it effectively dissolves or disables the ability of that person to make choices in their life that correspond to the energies of that particular chakra. So, for example, if there was a tear at the heart chakra, at the 4th chakra, that would disable that person primarily to receive divine love. And that is the primary function of the heart chakra, is to be able to receive divine love. Also to exude love and share love. Love as the energy that is the source of all being. So when the heart chakra is torn, that person may have issues around love, may have a lot of issues around self-love. And that applies to any chakra. If you have like a 6th chakra tear, that means that the person has been disabled from the ability to receive their own intuitive guidance. So that, for example. Also, I look for scars because sometimes a person has done such work in their life that they did have a tear at one of the chakras, but they did so much healing work at that chakra that they healed it themselves, which is very rare that a person is able to heal their own torn chakra. I've seen it very rarely in my practice in the past 10 years when a new client shows up and they have scars. That is an absolute testament to the ability of that person, their ability to have self-healed. So I'm also looking for other things like tar. Tar is like a sticky goo on the golden web that obscures your vision. I'm also looking for viruses. Viruses are misbelief systems. When a person is plugged into a spiritual misbelief system, such as following a guru, something that's not in alignment with divine truth and divine love and divine light, a virus will show up on the golden web. I've also found in these past 10 years that viruses can also take the form of being plugged into the mass consciousness. Being plugged into the mass consciousness, which is a lower dimensional vibration, will also show up as a virus. I'm also looking for red fibers. Red fibers are like actual little red fibers on the golden web. And red fibers are representative of intentionally dealing with negative forces to try to get something. I'm also looking for memory issues. So like I said, the golden web is a temporary drive. And then anything that's left on the golden web is uploaded to the hard drive, which is the Akashic record. Sometimes memory can be lost from the golden web. Memory can be added or clouded or shared, programmed or highlighted. And all of these things have to do primarily with negative entity attachments and or possessions. Because negative entities do actually attain partial possession. They can attain partial possession, or they can attempt partial possession. And depending on what kind of entity, there's all kinds of entities. There's, just regular negative entities. A negative entity, we're going to segue into that. Negative entities are actually what were negative thought forms. Now, a negative thought form, that can become a negative entity, is not created by divine source. It does not have a soul. But you've heard by now the phrase thoughts create things. Well, thoughts do create things. And if one focuses on a thought pattern or a feeling pattern long enough, and especially if it's negative, this person can create a negative thought form. Now, when a negative thought form gets loose, when they gain enough power from being fed so much by the person that created this negative thought form, this negative thought form will become a negative entity. But the thing is that when the negative entity gets loose from the creator that created it, which was the human being that was having the obsessive thought pattern, the obsessive emotion that was negative, this now entity has to find a like energy to keep drawing energy from, because since they have no soul, they are not being fed from creator source energy. They have to attach or look to attach to another human being who is in the same kind of thought or the same kind of emotion, strongly, obsessively, as the person that created that negative thought form, which became an entity. There are negative entities all over the planet. They're everywhere. Now, another spiritual teacher said this. I'll leave her name out of it. But there's a video on my blog, ursulacarrie.blogspot.com. On the sidebar, this very well-known spiritual teacher has also stated the fact that every human being, with the exception of negative souls, you see, every human being, every incarnated soul of the light, pretty much has negative entities, negative entity attachments. Now, negative entities, they run programs. They're either running an emotional body program or they're running a mental body program. Now, also on the sidebar of my blog, ursulacarrie.blogspot.com, there is a featured article that I have there that will explain a little more in depth about negative entities and how they're created and how they attach and what they do. So if you would like to go there and do a little more, just a little more reading, it's probably like a 2-minute read to educate yourself about negative entities, because they are everywhere. Everyone has them except me. Excuse me. I don't attract them anymore. The reason why I don't attract negative entities anymore is because I've been clearing my soul record consistently pretty much every day for several years now. So I have not allowed the negative entities attached to me to keep my soul vibration rate from rising. And the primary reason that I do this is because I do this work. I am here to serve other beings of the light who are on their path of ascension. So it is essential that I keep myself in as pure and pristine condition energetically and spiritually, so that I am in a position to serve from pure and complete truth. And also the negative entities know that if they attach to me, they're going to be sent to the astral planes that they've justly earned through their life experience. You know, they won't be able to attach for longer than a half a day. And then poof, they are out of the third dimension and they are gone. And there's no negative entity that really wants to take that risk. So that's negative entities. You can go explore that and check it out. Check out the reading. I'm also looking for earthbound spirits. I'm looking for ghosts, and I'm looking for poltergeists. Earthbound spirits are people who died within this one lifetime. A lifetime meaning maybe like 80 years, 100 years or so, and they missed going to the light. There are earthbound spirits who were negative souls incarnated. There's earthbound spirits who are positive souls of the light who were incarnated. Usually if it's a negative soul who's an earthbound spirit, they didn't want to go to the light because they were getting too much juice and too much energy from being here on earth. So they don't want to give that up. There's positive souls of the light, and they just, for some reason, they miss the call. There's many reasons why when someone passes from this physical form that they don't go home to the light.